Just like in our last video, let's get this out of the way first. Poisonous and venomous are different. Go ahead, try to Google the most poisonous animals in the world and look for a list that isn't half venomous. You probably won't find one. After spending hours searching, I just ended up thinking about how hard the job of toxic zoologist must be. Both venomous and poisonous animals produce toxins, but they differ in how they deliver them. Venomous animals need to inject the toxin into their victim, while poisonous animals simply release their toxin on their skin, body, or surroundings, and you can be affected if you touch, taste, or eat them. Actually, there are only a few truly poisonous animals. Because think about it, the predator would have to eat half of you before it gets harmed, and that's not a good survival strategy. But the animals that manage to endure and survive with this style, they are the ones that possess the most dangerous, the strongest toxins on the entire planet. This list is arranged based on the oral lethal dose 50, which means that as the number increases, the less is needed to kill a person. But before we start that, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. Number 15, cane toad. The cane toad is a giant frog that's even bigger than your hand, and it releases some of the most toxic poisons in the world, with an LD50 of 5 to 1 mg per kilo. If you're holding $1 or a small paperclip, that's about 1 gram, and 1 mg is 1,000 times lighter than that. The BFO toxin of the cane toad can kill 50 rats with just 1 mg. And for animals, including humans, less than 100 mg can already be dangerous. Take note, this is just the least potent one on the entire list. They were brought to Australia to control pests in sugarcane. But because they had no natural predators, their numbers grew to millions. Even venomous snakes, lizards, and even crocodiles die when they swallow this toxic cane toad. So if you ever touch one, wash your hands immediately. Number 14, Spanish fly. You really didn't hear me wrong. The Spanish fly is not an ant, not a fly, and it's also not some magic potion being sold in alleyways. It's an emerald green beetle, part of the blister beetle family, and it produces a toxin with an LD50 of 5 mg per kilogram. The Spanish fly, along with about 7,500 other species of blister beetles, produces cantharidin, a toxin used as a defense against predators. Since the time of the ancient Greeks, crushed blister beetles have been used. In various folk medicines, they're even used as an aphrodisiac. The cantharidin from the Spanish fly is absorbed through the skin, causing blisters, intense pain, and burning sensations. And when swallowed, it can cause ulcers, blistering, and bleeding in the digestive tract that can lead to death. And yes, it can also cause priapism, similar to the effect of the Brazilian wandering spider. But this comes with bleeding, extreme pain, and a lot of suffering. Effect number 13, flamboyant cuttlefish. This is probably the most poisonous animal on our entire list. The flamboyant cuttlefish is only as big as a hamster, small, fearless, and extremely adorable. And it has an LD50 of about 0.35 mg per kilogram. And according to some studies, this toxin is as deadly as the tetrodotoxin carried by the blue-ringed octopus, which is number 15 on our venomous animals list. But this hasn't been studied that much yet, and the current comparison comes from Mark Norman, a renowned marine biologist. This is just one of 3 cephalopods in the whole world that are poisonous or venomous, and they can be found in the sea near northern Australia and New Guinea. It can't swim well because its cuttle bone is small, so it just walks on the seabed. But if it lacks buoyancy, it makes up for it with flamboyancy. When there's danger, they display different colors like Christmas lights, and it's like they're showing a fighting stance to scare off threats. And considering that their muscle tissue is super poisonous, it's not useful at all. Very cool, but it can't be controlled. Number 12, sun-tid crabs. 12 sun-tid crabs. This family of crabs doesn't look unusual except for their colorful shells. But this is where they get their strength because they carry symbiotic bacteria that produce tetrodotoxin, which has an LD50 of 334 per milligram per kilogram. There are quite a few marine animals that use tetrodotoxin, and in fact, 5 of our next entries all have the same LD50. Fortunately, scientists have created a measurement called the mouse unit, which tells us how many mice can be killed by 1 gram of the animal's flesh. Using this measurement, the sunted crab can kill 9 mice with just 1 gram of its flesh. And they're actually on the lower end of the mouse unit scale compared to others. There are many species of sunted crab found on coastlines all over the world, and even on other worlds if you play StarCraft. You know why they annoy so many StarCraft players. Number 11, Comet Starfish, Comstar. Another marine animal on the list uses tetrodotoxin as protection against predators. And every gram of its flesh has enough tetrodotoxin to kill 520 mice. And I just want to go back. There is still no known antidote for tetrodotoxin, so be careful with the seafood you eat. The spines on the sides of the arms of the comet starfish are used to dig in the sand while searching for food like decaying fish, biofilm, and small mollusks along with their shells. And because of this, they are excellent cleaners of the ocean floor and are often kept in aquariums. But they are dangerous if a fish ever thinks of tasting them. Number 10, Rough-skinned Newt. This cute amphibian is one of the 3 poisonous salamanders in the world, and it's the deadliest among the 3. Just 1 gram of its flesh can kill about 1,000 mice. This means that just 1 newt is enough to kill any animal that tries to eat them except for the common garter snake. It's funny but true. The garter snake seems to have a built-in toxin detector because it can taste how strong the toxin is in each newt, and they only eat those with low levels. But what's even more impressive is that they can survive even if they're poisoned by tetrodotoxin. Rough-skinned newts are common in Northern California and safe to handle if you don't put them in your mouth or eat them. Number 9, ribbon worms. Ribbon worms are really extremely unusual, like on a whole other level of weird. The fact that some of them carry tetrodotoxin, enough to kill 2,590 mice per gram, you could say that's normal compared to the other things they do. A lot of people have probably seen videos of them on YouTube. They're called proboscis worms because they use a part of their body to stab, tie up, and poison their prey. And yes, there are species that are venomous, not just poisonous. What's even weirder is that when they're out of water, the ribbon worm is as fragile as wet tissue. You can separate them just by lifting them up. But they're not harmed by it. And why is that? Because they can reproduce sexually and also by cutting parts of their bodies. Like when a part gets removed, it's fine. That's a new worm. And like I said, it's really weird. Number 8, pufferfish. Almost everyone watching knows that this fish is super poisonous, thanks to almost every poisonous animal list that always includes them, even though most of those lists are actually about venomous animals. But there's a reason why they're famous. They carry enough tetrodotoxin to kill 5 to 6 million mice per gram. Fugu, the Japanese word for pufferfish, has been eaten in Japan for many centuries. Even though each fish has more than enough toxin, the lethal dose. They say that the liver of the fugu is the most delicious, even though it contains the most poison. Now, we know that pufferfish are poisonous because of the bacteria in their bodies that produce tetrodotoxin. That's why there are some fish farms in Japan that raise non-toxic fugu, far from the deadly bacteria in the sea. Number 7, rogue beetle. Beetles, especially those from the Podaris genus, are almost the same as blistered beetles when it comes to their effects. Their hemolymph causes large blisters when it comes into contact with the skin. But their specialty is a toxin that can also have an LD50 of 4 mg per kilogram, which is almost 5 times more toxic than cantharidin. Rogue beetles can be found in many countries, especially in the eastern United States. They don't look like typical beetles and resemble earwigs more. What's interesting is the females. Only female beetles produce pterin, and they use it to protect their eggs from predators like spiders. The scariest part is that at just 1 nanogram per millimeter, pterin can stop cell division by blocking the production of protein and DNA. And it's like you're literally being killed from the very core of your being. Number 6, wooded pitahoy. Have you ever heard of a poisonous bird? In 1992, it was discovered that the wooded pitahoy has feathers coated with Homo BTX, a toxin almost identical to the poison found in the poisoned dart frog, and its LD50 is extremely low. I couldn't find a single study that tested this toxin orally on any animal. All the tests available are injection tests only, but it's estimated that the lethal oral dose for humans is around 12 to 20.5 milligrams per kilogram. He believes that the Corinidae beetles are the source of the toxic chemical that ends up in the feathers of the pitahoy. It's interesting because the poison dart frog is in South America and the pitahoy is in New Guinea, which are continents far apart, but they have the same toxin. In New Guinea, the locals call this bird the trash bird and they refuse to eat it. That's reasonable because it smells like spoiled milk. Touching it causes cramps and numbness, and eating it will definitely lead to poisoning. So the name is justified. Number 5, golden poison dart frog. If you've watched a list of the most poisonous animals, the poison dart frog is definitely included. But not all dart frogs are the same. They have different amounts of batrachotoxin on their skin. And when it comes to the most potent, the golden poison dart frog wins. Its scientific name is Philobats terribilis, and it's truly terrible for anyone who tries to eat it. It can carry 20 times more toxin than other dart frogs. We've heard a lot about how the poison dart frog is used to poison arrows, but have you ever wondered how animal predators eat prey that has been hit by an arrow tipped with poison dart frog toxin? If you think about it, its flesh should also be poisonous because the toxin passes through its veins before it dies. However, the answer is that the subcutaneous LD50 of batrachotoxin is extremely low, only about 2 to 3 micrograms per kilogram. This means that the small amount of poison at the tip of the arrow is too diluted to be lethal when eaten. For clarity, never put a poison dart frog in your mouth. It's a guaranteed way to get killed. Number 4, beadlet anemone. The beadlet anemone contains actinidia toxin, and its LD50 is about 33 micrograms per kilogram. This seems a bit like cheating, because they're not just poisonous, they're also venomous. Both their mucus and stinging cells contain actinidia toxin, and its job is to destroy red blood cells, which are important for delivering oxygen throughout the animal's body. But fortunately, the nematocysts of the beadlet anemone can't penetrate human skin, or the thick scales of large fish. So the only truly dangerous exposure is if you try to eat them. And in addition to that, their behavior is surprising. And the beadlet anemone is extremely aggressive and territorial, and they will attack any anemone that isn't their own kind until they drive it away, and it's literally like gang wars happening under the sea. They can be found along the coast of the United Kingdom all the way to South Africa, and they are also often kept in aquariums. Number 3, beadlet anemone, Bunodiopsis granulifera. Now we're getting into toxins that are even deadlier than the most dangerous venom in the world. The granulifera anemone produces BGK toxin in its mucus, and its LD50 is 4.5 micrograms per kilogram. And that means it's a millionth of a gram, almost as light as a paper fiber. The anemone is small. It's usually found on the shores of Cuba, and they're quiet and just want to survive. At night, they open their 10 tentacles to catch tiny prey. But during the day, or when they sense danger, they suddenly close their 10 tentacles and release a thick mucus full of BGK toxin. BGK is a neurotoxin that disables the potassium ion channels of almost all animals. That's why this is such an effective defense that helps this little anemone stay alive. Number 2, Palitoa toxica. The Palitoa is a genus of zoanthid, and many of its species produce one of the strongest organic toxins in the world. Palitoxin has an LD50 of 4 micrograms per kilogram. Palitoxin spreads through the sodium ion pumps of almost all the cells in the body, which is why it is extremely deadly. There is an ancient legend and story about the origin of palitoxin. It is said that it was formed from the ashes of a sea god who killed people when his ashes were supposedly thrown into a tide pool. A seaweed-like coral grew, which was then used to put poison on spears, and if you got hit, it was said to cause instant death. Sometimes there are species of Paletoa that end up in aquariums. And if the owner tries to remove the anemone without proper care, they can get poisoned. Toxin is the second deadliest non-protein toxin in the world. It's just next to number 3. This is number 1 on our list. Number 1, striped sturgeonfish. What would it feel like to have something like food poisoning that lasts for almost 20 years? This is what happens when you eat striped sturgeonfish and some other types of fish that have madotoxin and ciguatoxin. These toxins come from Gambier discus toxicus, a type of protist that lives on sea algae. The oral LD50 of these two toxins combined has not yet been fully studied. It's estimated to be only about 0.2 to 0.5 micrograms per kilogram. That's about 200 to 500 nanograms, making it one of the most dangerous organic poisons, alongside botulinum and tetanus toxin. Every year, almost 20,000 to 50,000 people are affected by Tiguatera fish poisoning because of these toxic fish. And sometimes the symptoms can last for weeks, months, or even years. In severe cases, it can even be mistaken for multiple sclerosis. And even if you cook it, the poison won't go away. So if you're unlucky and get a fish with a high toxin level, you can get sick. Or if the dose is too strong, you could die. So be careful when eating imported fish and fish from tropical waters.